Domestic violence is certainly a big issue that we're all experiencing or aware of sometimes. Sometimes it hits very close to home, but there's another part of domestic violence called teen dating violence that you may not be as familiar with, but is certainly just as serious. I have three people in the studio that are going to help me learn more about that myself. We have Kathy Graydon. She's the Director of Education and Community Relations for Heartland for Children. Kathy, it's great to have you here.
Thank you. It's glad to be
We also have Chase Weber, Prevention Education Specialist, also with Heartland for Children. Chase, great to have you here.
Pleasure to be here.
And Veronica Kerst. She is the President of Heather's Hope Foundation. And it's certainly, Veronica, good to have you here as well. We're going to find out more about these organizations. So let's start with you. Tell us more about Heartland for Children.
Well, Heartland for Children is a private nonprofit agency that has been charged with the redesign of the foster care system here locally. And so we primarily deal with children who've been abused or neglected in their families, the foster care piece, adoptions, and independent living for children in that system. But one of our key focuses is the prevention of child maltreatment. And so this project is really near and dear to us because we know that children in our community come into our child welfare system oftentimes due to domestic violence or family violence that threatens them in their home. So our goal is to prevent domestic violence, teen dating violence. We want to use this program to get in early when teens are just starting to get involved in their first serious relationships and help them understand what healthy relationships look like, help them identify warning signs so that they know if they are in a relationship that might turn abusive, that they know how to get help, how to recognize the signs, and how to advocate that they remain in a healthy relationship.
Now, one of the ways you're doing that is through an interesting program, actually a play, a one-person, one-woman play called The Yellow Dress.
Yes.
Explain that.
Okay. The Yellow Dress is a one-woman play, and it is the play we contract with Dina's Educational Theater to bring that here locally. We have a local actress that plays the role of Anna, and it takes viewers through the early relationship that she has and takes them through that experience to where it actually turns into more of a violent situation to help enact for high school students. They can see what it looks like. They can understand what goes involved. We want them to understand what the early warning signs are. After the play, we have some discussion with professionals, and they give great positive feedback and are actually taken through what the important pieces of that play are and help them process through how to identify those important issues.
Now, Chase, let me ask you about the play. This is not a production you're going to see at the local theater. You're taking this directly to the kids. Where do you do this?
Yes, sir. Our goal with Heartland is actually to introduce the play into the local high schools. We have in Polk County, we have 6 that we're targeting for. We've had a performance for this school year already at George Jenkins High School. We already have a date booked for Kathleen High School, and then there's a couple other like Tenor Rock High School that have always been really good, had a really good relationship with us that we're working the dates on, and we'll be in those. And then it's up to the school to determine which age group, which class that they want to introduce it to. Some of them do freshmen, some of them do a combination of some of them. But that's where we're at. We're in the local high schools, and it doesn't cost the high school anything. It's a program that we sponsor and that we take into the high schools just so the students can be more aware of the violent relationships that they could enter into.
I want to hear more about the play in just a second, but Veronica, I'm going to bring you in here and talk again about the scope of the problem. I imagine some people may be very aware of this, and maybe some people don't know how big of a problem this teen dating violence is. Tell me about that.
Actually, I'm from Heather's Hope Foundation, and we were founded in 2009. My friend Heather Rimmer was murdered by her husband, and they both started dating each other when they were 16. And as adults, we were always around her, and we never knew about the violence that was going on, and we saw her almost every day. So we thought that maybe we should our foundation should target the younger kids, because that's when it does start. And our foundation does a big race every year to support giving Heartland for Children money so that the play can be done in the high schools.
Now let's talk about the play again, because it's interesting. I have to learn more about this, and maybe Chase, you're the best person to explain it. Again, it's one person. Is this a monologue, or is she kind of acting out different scenes? And are these based on real life stories, or what is it?
Actually, the whole play is based on a real life story of a young woman named Dina, which is why Dina's Educational Theater was sponsored. And so it is one woman. She walks through a few different scenes herself, takes about 20 to 25 minutes, and she walks through, like Kathy said earlier, the early signs when the relationship is great. and she's happy, and they're getting along, and he's treating her very nice and very respectful, and he's just the sweetest guy, the most popular guy. And then it walks through those warning signs of how the relationship starts to shift and become controlling and demanding and very violent.
Are you targeting this to guys and girls, or is it for girls only, or who's the audience at the same time? They're all in there together?
Yes, sir. They're all in there together because the misperception is that it's always a male, abusing the female, especially in the younger generation. But they need to know that that's not always the case. The girls can be just as abusive through the social and emotional aspects and being controlling in the social environment, and then also very verbal and emotional, violent as well, and abusive to their boyfriends, just like a boyfriend can be abusive to the girlfriend.
Veronica, you were mentioning with your own personal friends, you didn't see any of this. There weren't any, you said, any real clear warning signs, but there had to have been some that were behind the scenes.
Absolutely. We after she was murdered, we think back and we said, oh, there was a sign. But until she was murdered, we didn't know, we weren't educated, and we didn't know the signs. But now we do, and that's what we want to prevent teens. And we want them to see these signs as early as possible. Just get out of these relationships.
Kathy, I would imagine when you're dealing with teens, especially if it's a girl who's being victimized, she may be hesitant to want to kind of come forward. So I imagine in some ways, do you try to empower them, to give them the courage to say something?
Yes, we actually provide them with resources, and we process with them how they can get help and the importance of identifying these early indicators. And so we have actually a playbill that we provide to each of the students, and it's as if they're attending the theater and their playbill, but inside and in the back they get the resources and information that they need. We encourage them to get help. We talk about who are trusted adults that they can reach out to get the help that they need for themselves, or a friend. But you also mentioned that we have both girls and boy students in the play and the performance. And one of the other things we try to stress is that sometimes they may not be involved, but their behavior can contribute to some of it as well. So if they see something happening, it's important for them to report, but it's also equally important for them not to laugh and exhibit behavior that would let this couple feel that was an acceptable behavior. So that it really is everyone's role to help prevent it from happening, whether it's happening to you or someone you know or not. But if you observe it in the hallways, that you need to do something.
Yeah, there's a lot, I imagine, some of that subtle abuse, if you will. And we're certainly seeing that now more with all the social medias that kids, even in elementary school, are able to do. So it's breaking the cycle, I imagine, early really is the key, isn't it?
Right.
It is definitely the case.
And educating them.
And educating.
That it's not right. It's not, nobody needs to be treated that way.
Yeah. Let me ask you again about this, the play, The Yellow Dress. That's an interesting name. I have a yellow shirt on, only because I wanted to remember the name of the title here. But The Yellow Dress, this is national, as you mentioned. So is this the first time it's been here in Polk County?
No, so it's been in Polk County here for a few years. Heartland sponsors the play, purchases the rights from Dean's Educational Theater, and we've been in Polk County for about 4 or 5 years in many of the local high schools, and then once or twice in a theater. And then last year in 2013, we actually sponsored the performance that the main actress from Dean's Educational Theater came down to the Strass Center in Tampa, put on a performance for nearly 1,000 people. So they were able to be educated on domestic violence and abusive relationships as well.
What kind of feedback have you had then, since you've had a number of performances out there? Are you hearing something from the kids?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we are. One of the other things each student gets is a survey that they're able to take once the performance is done and once the discussion is done. And so they're able to give some feedback on some very specific areas. 3 of those areas are, the first one being the warning signs. And it's cool, this last performance we had 93% of the students, there was 274 students that were surveyed, 93% of them stated very strongly that they were able to see the warning signs and know what the warning signs of an abusive relationship were after they saw the performance. And then after that, 90% of them were able to tell us that they knew how to get help for either themselves or a friend. And then as well, 90% of them stated that they knew the difference of an unhealthy relationship and a healthy relationship, and they knew what to look for in a healthy relationship from that point moving forward.
Yeah, and wow, that's huge, isn't it?
It is
Yes.
huge.
Being able to recognize those early warning signs. Like you said, way back when your friend was going through this, you didn't have that. So
Nope.
what a difference that could have made. That's amazing.
Absolutely, yes.
Do you have, obviously, you're targeting the kids. Now, are there parents who are probably saying, I want to see this too? I mean, how can adults, I'm no longer in high school, I would like to see it. Is there ways we can be involved?
We have offered it to the general community before. I think whenever there's a need, we want to raise awareness through the ABC Action News special that Chase mentioned last year. It was aired on the television. I wouldn't say national because you can access it nationally, but it is still on their website. They're taking Action Against Violence campaign. They can see pieces of the play and the performances, and certainly if anyone locally would like to be a part of one of the performances, we can work with the local high schools to make sure that they can be a part of it too.
Well, I appreciate you all coming on.
Thanks
I hope
for
this
having us.
continues to be a success. When you have 90% success rates, it's hard to argue with that, isn't it?
Absolutely.
That's-
Yep. They're also telling us and giving us feedback
Yeah.
about how they're getting help and that they know somebody and they're gonna report that. So that's another key piece of it.
And of course, you can always go to heartlandforchildren.org and learn more about what they're doing as well. And we wish you, again, continued success. So if you'd like to learn more about The Yellow Dress, it's an interesting one-person play talking about teen violence. If you'd like to contact Chase about having this play in your school, you can reach him by phone, 863-519-8900, extension 294. Well, you can go to their website, which is heartlandforchildren.org.